Welcome back. We're getting somewhere here now with our app, and in this video we're going to build the methods in the movie component. So we're just going to work in the movie.js file for this video. First, if we take a look at the app, you see we'll get an error here now, and that's because we're not sending any children's in to our for-call grid. So that's fine. If we just remove this and save, you'll see that it's all working. We have our navigation, movie info, and movie info bar, and our spinner that's spinning like crazy right now. So we'll go back, we'll put the for-call grid back for now. Well, what do we need in this component? First of all, we're going to need some state. So we create the state. And what properties or keys we're going to need for this? Well, we have a movie. We set that to null for now. We have actors. And we set that also to null. We have directors. We set them to an empty array. And we have loading as before. We set that to false as initial value. Okay, so these are the properties in our state we're going to need for this component. What else do we need to do? We need to do, just as before, a lifecycle method, and we use the same lifecycle method as before, and that's the component did mount. Like this. And what do we do when the component mount? First of all, we do exactly the same. We set the state. This set state. And we set our loading to true. And we're going to do this in 2 steps here, because first we want to fetch the movie data, and then we have to fetch the actors for this movie to show in the grid. So we can just do a little markup here. First, fetch the movie. And we create an endpoint. We do a backtick, just as before, a $sign and curly braces, and we get our API URL. We grab it from movie / and we also get our movie ID for this, because now we're fetching a specific movie, so we send in the movie ID into the URL. We grab this from this props match params dot movie ID. And this is what I showed you when we did the browser router. We created the movie ID variable in the router, and then we get access to this ID with this expression. We also, just as before, have our API key. API key, and we can set our language to English US and a backtick, and there you have it. That's the endpoint URL for this one. Then we are going to create another fetch items method, so we call this one here fetch items and send in our endpoint like so. Then we create our fetch items method. Fetch items. We have our endpoint as a parameter, like so. And we use the fetch command again. Fetch parenthesis endpoint and end parenthesis. Then we get a result. We convert the result with JSON like this. And then we use this result. And this is where the magic going to happen. And here we have to do some special thing. And that's because if we look in our app.js again, we did a special page when we can't find the URL. That's called not found. We did a component for that one. The thing is, this is not going to catch 404 arrows. And instead, we have to do this check by ourselves in the movie.js. So that means if we grab a movie that don't exist, we still get an object back from the API with a resulting status code. So we'll have a key in the returned object that's called status code. So we can check if that code exists, and then we know that we couldn't find a movie. So if we do this check, we write if result.status underscore code. If this exists, we didn't grab a movie. So we have to set the state back to loading false. So we set this set state loading false. And we don't have to do anything more. We don't have to grab the actors because we don't have any actors to grab because we didn't get a movie. So this is all we have to do in this one. We just set the loading to false, and we'll handle this later on when we render out the component in our return statement. Else, this means that we have something, we have a movie, and then we can do something with the data. So we need to fill our movie state with the result for the movie. So we do this by this dot set state movie with the result, like this. We have our movie, all the data about the movie in our state, and now we want to grab the actors. And how do we do this? Well, the set state also accepts a callback function. So when we set the state, after the state is set, we can call another function, and that's exactly what we're going to do here, because we first grab the movie and get the result into our state, and then we grab the actors for the movie. So you just go into here after the curly braces end and do a comma, and we do an arrow function, a new arrow function, like this. And in here we can grab the actors. We continue our little note here. We can write then fetch actors in the set state callback function, like so. We have a new endpoint now. Just as before, we do a backtick and we grab our API URL. We grab it from movie, and we also have to send in the ID for the movie for this one also. So we do this from this props match params movie ID / and then we get the credits question mark and API key. We grab our API key just as before, and we end it with a backtick. So this is the endpoint URL for this one. Then we do a new fetch with this endpoint, like so. And then, just as before, we got the result, and we convert it with JSON. And then we get the result again from that one, and we create a new arrow function, and this is where we process our data. First of all, we want to get the directors because we want to show them in the movie info. So we can just check our app here and see what we have. We have the title of the plot, we have the IMDb rating, and we have the directors. So we have to grab the directors somehow from the credits. So we create a new const, directors. From the result, we have to do some filtering, and we have a handy filter method for that in JavaScript. So what the filter method will do, it will filter out the array of data with a function that we provide for the filter function, and it will return a new array for us with a result. We grab the result.crew and we filter it. We call it a member. And if member.job is equal to director, then it will return this one and add it to the result array for us. So this will filter out everything else except the directors. Crew and job are just predefined properties that we get from the API. Now we can set our state again. This set state. We set our actors to the result cast. This is also a predefined property in the return object from the API. we set our directors to directors. As this is the same name, we just need to write directors like this. This is the same as writing this. And we set our loading to false. We can also catch if there's any error like we did before. We console the error. Like so. So we created a state for a movie component and different keys for this state, different properties. We did a lifecycle method, component did mount, where we grab our data for the movie. Then we fetched items here in this fetch items method. And if we got the movie, then we fetch the credits and the directors for the movie. Otherwise, we do nothing because we don't have a movie. And we can check this now, and oops, we got an error. All right, line 37. I forgot the D in endpoint, so we save that one. And we're back to our map of undefined. So we can, for now, just remove the for-call grid and save it. And we see that it's working. We could also console log out something so we know that we get a result here. We do this here. We console log our result. And this way we can check that we get some data from the API. So we go into our console. And yeah, as you see, we get an object with the movie data here. So it seems to be working. We could also go into our React developer tools and check the props and state. So we go down here in the tree, down to the switch, route, and movie. And we can see the props and the state. Actors, we have 58 actors. We also have 2 directors. So our methods are working for grabbing the actors and the directors. Sweet! And that's about it for this one. We got all the methods we need now in the movie component. In the next video, we're going to complete the different components and finish our movie component.